O Lord, how remiss we are in winning and keeping that peace of the heart that is the most precious thing on earth or in heaven. Please continue watching to find out more.
Здравствуйте, уважаемые зрители. Translates as hello, dear viewers, in Russian, one of the official languages of Sakha. I'm Vladimir. The kind people of the Republic of Sakha praise your sincere prayers for world vegan, world peace. May all be inspired toward this loving kindness way of living. Hryhorii Skovoroda was an 18th century philosopher, poet, and composer of religious music. A number of his writings can be found in his songs, several of which have been adapted to Ukrainian folk music. Skovoroda's work contributed to the culture of both Russia and Ukraine. He has been called Socrates, both as a moralist and one whose Socratic style is intended to stimulate thought and self-introspection. At the same time, Skovoroda's writings are imaginative, witty, and dramatic, with themes that highlight happiness and appreciation of life. Skovoroda did not seek to have his work published while he was still alive. He was more concerned with living in a manner true to the moral values upheld in his writings. 3 days prior to his death, Skovoroda went to stay with one of his closest friends. Each day he left the house and it was discovered that he was digging his own burial place beneath a tree. On the 3rd day he announced that his time had come and he simply lay down and passed away. At his request, his epitaph said, "The world tried to capture me, but didn't succeed." In recognition of his works and numerous contributions, Hryhorii Skovoroda's portrait was printed on the second largest banknote in circulation in Ukraine, the 500 hryvnia note. We now share with you excerpts from his writings in a conversation among 5 travelers concerning life's true happiness. God's power is with us. We have peace with God. You have to stand bravely and give no ground to the devil. If you resist, he will flee from you. It is shameful to fail in resisting one idle invader or even a small party of them. O Lord, how remiss we are in winning and keeping that peace of the heart that is the most precious thing on earth or in heaven. A man should think only of this when he is alone and speak only of this when he is with others, whether at home or on the road, lying down or getting up. But when do we think of it? How little self-knowledge have we attained, having forgotten our house, which was not built by man, and its head, our soul, and the soul's head, the God-like paradise of peace. Our just reward is that we can scarcely find one heart in 1,000 that is not occupied by a garrison of several detachments of demons. Since we did not learn to stand guard for God and to continue this most profitable battle, we have become a truth negligent, deaf, stupid, cowardly, unskilled, and generally weak fighters, so that God's greatest favor to us, which we fail to appreciate, perplexes our hearts as a wolf does sheep. For example, one man worries because he is not well born, handsome of countenance, or gently bred. Another is troubled because, although he leads a blameless life, many people, both high-born and base, hate and disparage him, calling him a desperado scoundrel or hypocrite. A third grieves because he has not attained the profession or station that could have provided him with 10-course dinners instead of the 6 courses he now has. A fourth torments himself trying to hold on to a burdensome but profitable profession so as to not die of boredom in idleness, never realizing that nothing is more useful and important than to manage piously not one's external domestic economy but one's internal spiritual economy. That is, to know oneself and to bring order into one's heart. A fifth makes himself miserable because he feels he has the ability to serve society but cannot fight his way through so many candidates to gain the position he seeks, as though only public servants had occasion to be virtuous, and as though service were different from good works or good works from virtue. A sixth is filled with alarm because his hair has begun to turn grey, because pitiless old age with its dreadful army is approaching hour by hour, followed by invincible death with yet another army. He worries because his body is beginning to grow weak, his eyes and teeth are failing, he no longer has the strength to dance, he can no longer eat and drink as heartily as he once could, or enjoy it as much, and so on. But can one count the countless hordes of unclean spirits and black crows, or, according to Paul, earthly spirits of malice that roam the dark and unlimited abyss of our soul? All these petty spirits are not yet giants, nor the greatest idlers, but they really perturb our hearts, which are unskilled in battle and unarmed with counsel. But was this the kind of heart found in our ancient ancestors? Listen to what Luke writes about the first Christians. In them was one soul and one heart. But what is it? What kind of a heart was in them? Besides harmonious love, it was filled with rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. And here is another heroic heart. We who are slandered take comfort. I rejoice in my suffering. Who can read the part of his epistle that is read on the day of his victory without being amazed? It is a spectacle of the most wonderful miracles that captivate the heart's eye. What a miracle! What brings others bitter disappointment brings Paul mirth, because his breath or soul is like a healthy stomach, which thrives on the coarsest and hardest food. Is this not to have a diamond heart? The heaviest blow shatters everything else, but strengthens him. O peace! You are God's and God is yours. This is true happiness. To obtain a heart encircled by diamond walls and to say, God's power is with us. We have peace with God. This peace is lofty and difficult to obtain. How marvelous was the heart that thanked God for all things. It is difficult, almost impossible, but it is worthy of the greatest effort. It is difficult, but without such peace, life is 1,000 times more difficult. It is laborious, but this labor frees us from countless very heavy labors. Is it not shameful to say that it is difficult to carry this yoke, when in carrying it we find a treasure like the heart's peace? Take my yoke upon you, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. How much effort do we expend to little purpose, often vainly and sometimes harmfully, To feed and clothe the body is difficult but needful. We cannot get along without it. Bodily life consists of this, and no one should regret this effort, for without it one will fall into sore distress, into cold, hunger, thirst, and sickness. But would you not find it easier to live on rough herbs and have peace and consolation in your heart than to dine at an overflowing table and be like a whited sepulchre filled with unsleeping worms that gnaw at the soul day and night without rest? Is it not better to cover one's poor body with rags and dress the heart in the vestments of salvation and the garments of mirth, than to wear gold-brocaded clothes and bear the fire at the center of one's soul, the fire that sears the heart with demonic grieving? What profits you to sit in your body, enjoying every comfort among the beautiful corners of your house, if your heart is cast from an ornamented chamber into the outer darkness of discontent? A man who has fallen into a pit or into deep waters thinks not of the difficulties but of saving himself. If you build a house, build it for both parts of your being, body and soul. If you deck and adorn the body, do not forget the heart. There are two kinds of bread, houses, garments, two kinds of everything. All things come in twos, so that there are two men in each man, two fathers, the heavenly and the earthly, two worlds, the original and the temporal, and two natures, the divine and the bodily, in all things. If one mixes them together and acknowledges only the visible nature, one falls into homegrown idolatry. This is precisely what the Holy Bible prevents by acting as an arch that transcends all perishability and as a gate that leads our hearts to the faith of the true conception of God, to the hope of divine nature and the kingdom of peace and love, the original world. And this is enduring peace, to believe in and recognize the ruling nature and to depend on it as on an invincible city, and to think, my God, the Lord lives. Then you will say, and my soul lives. Without this, how can you depend on perishable nature? How can you avoid trembling when you see that all perishable things appear and disappear at every instant? Who would not be upset watching the perishing truth of being? Such people should not await peace, but should listen to Isaiah. They are troubled and cannot rest. There is no rejoicing for the wicked, says the Lord God. Look and see who ascends the mountain of peace. The Lord is my strength, and he will make my feet for perfection and lead me to high places, which will give me victory in his song. He acknowledges the Lord and sings before those who do not see him, and God leads him to the mountain of peace. To deny the Lord is the most tormenting distress and the heart's death. The work of the lips is the illness of the heart, and the illness of the heart is death, which is put in the heads of the wicked, and this natural death, which with its sting kills the soul, is the confusion between perishable and divine nature, and this confused mixture is a deviation from the divine nature in the direction of dust and ashes, as it's written, "Your food will turn to dust." The deviation is the fall, as it is written. Who can understand the fall? Here is what Sirach says of sin. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men. This is darkness, this is going astray, this is misfortune. You see where bodily nature has brought us, what comes of the confusion of natures. This is the native idolatrous frenzy and deviation from divine nature and ignorance about God. The well-known grief of this kind of heart is that we do not care for anything except the body's good, and if one lifts up one's eyes even slightly toward the blessed nature, we immediately cry out, "It is difficult, difficult." This is to call sweet bitter, but the righteous man lives by faith. And what is faith but the disclosure and clarification of the unseen nature as grasped by the heart? And is this not to be the Israel that is dear to us and divides everything into two and dedicates the invisible half of all visible things to the Lord? Paul sings about this to the lucky man, and as many as walk according to this rule, peace be upon them and mercy. The kingdom of blessed nature, although it is hidden, is not undetectable behind the external signs. It stamps its footprints on empty matter, like the truest image in the oils of a painting. All matter is but painted mud, muddied paint and picturesque powder. But blessed nature is the beginning or principle itself, that is, a beginningless invention or contrivance, and the wisest delineation that supports all the visible colors. These fit their imperishable strength and essence as clothes fit the body. David himself calls the appearance of things a garment. All of them shall wax old like a garment. And he calls the image a handbreadth, a surveyor's chain, the right hand or the truth. Beauty is in thy right hand. You have measured in handbreadths. Thy right hand upholds me. The truth of the Lord endures forever. I looked at my body as well with the same sight. The hands have made me and fashioned me. He avoids the moving water of his perishability. Our soul will cross the raging waters, and its thought will penetrate into the very power and kingdom concealed in the dust of his right hand, and will cry, "The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" Blessed is the man whom thou choosest, and causest to approach unto thee. Happy is he who has flown over into the kingdom of blessed nature. On this Paul says, "We walk on earth, but turn to the heavens." Solomon writes of the same world, "But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, and there shall no torment touch them." Wondrous viewers, it's been a pleasure to have your company on today's Words of Wisdom. May your spiritual journey be graced by heaven to reveal the inner truth for the soul's highest peace and understanding.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/WOW.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule y suprememastertv.com/WOW.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule y suprememastertv.com/WOW.
Naše programy nabízejí více jazyků. Prosím, navštivte suprememastertv.com/schedule a suprememastertv.com/WOW.